Sometimes our painful experiences is a door, a doorway, a portal, a portal to a deeper dimension. Someone said that without pain, there's no coming to consciousness. And no one wants to experience pain in their lives. But in this human experience that we are having, I don't think we can bypass that. I've heard the phrase, rise above the pain, but I feel like that's the outcome. That's the outcome when we go through the pain. There were periods of my life where I was trying to distract myself from something painful in my life. I was trying to either numb, distract, and I distracted by replacing, if that makes sense, replacing, so I would not have to think or deal with the pain. But our pain is a doorway. It's a portal that we must go through. On the other side of that is a deeper understanding of who we are, ourselves. On the other side of that, there's wisdom. When we transcend our pain after going through it, we're now at a level where we see it. We learn from it. We turn that pain into purpose. And that's why the thought came to me, pain is a doorway, and you must go through it before you can rise above it. So for those of us that are experiencing something that is really painful, we might not be able to bypass it, but we can go through that door, that portal. Because if you don't go through the door, you suffer. You suffer. But the suffering part is optional. Going through that door is what eliminates the suffering. The pain is the doorway. It's the portal. It's there for you to go through it in order to come out on the other side with greater purpose, more clarity on our paths. And our painful experiences can be our awakening. You know what came to me? How much I used to take comfort, take refuge in the victim role. Now, I don't want to be insensitive to people's painful experience, but what I recognized for myself was at one point, rather than going through the doorway. Pain can sometimes be a doorway. Rather than doing that, I felt comforted in the victim role. But here's the thing with that. I was still suffering. I was still suffering. And it went from being the victim of a painful experience to taking on this role because it validated the pain in a way, but it still kept me stuck. I was still suffering. Morning. I was still suffering silently. I was suffering. But that victim role felt like when I really saw what it was, it just masked the pain. So I feel like that's relative to this conversation because when we experience pain, we can sometimes fall into that role. And that role can bring an illusion, right? That role can bring an illusion. It's preventing you from going through the pain so you can arrive on the other side of it. You won't forget the pain, but you can transcend it. And that's the doorway. So I wanted to share that part with you. I wanted to share that with you. And what's important is recognizing how much the ego will take on a role. When the ego wants to hold on, it will take on a role. So that victim role doesn't allow us to transcend the pain, the role. I'm not saying that you weren't a victim. The role that we took on, I took that role on and I sat in it. And I felt like, okay, I'm supposed to be suffering. You know, that's the trick of the ego. I'm supposed to be suffering. The suffering role makes me make sense of my pain, but it still kept me in pain. How do you face the pain of what you're going through? Because the ego moves through fear. It wants us to avoid. It wants us to replace. It wants us to numb. It doesn't want us to go through it. You have to face it. When the reality of the moment, when we face that, we have to accept it. We have to accept it. The ego will build resistance. It will build fear because it moves through fear for us not to move forward, to keep us stuck in the pain when we're supposed to transcend it, to keep us stuck in the pain and that suffering. So acceptance of what the moment brings, for me, is one of the first steps to going through our painful experiences. If we don't accept what is happening, that's where the resistance comes. And in that resistance, that's where the suffering is. And that part of it is optional. going through your painful experience is when you begin to transcend the suffering. So if you find yourself dealing with a painful experience, and this message resonates with you, go through the door. It's a doorway for you to transcend this experience, this painful experience that you're having. Accept what is happening. The outcome of that is rising above it rather than suffering. It lingers in your life. It goes with you everywhere you go. It speaks for you. It controls your decisions, your choices. We had a visitor right there, but screw. So I hope when these words find you, it grounds you. Although what you're experiencing now might feel like everything is falling apart, it is not. There is a door. There's a doorway for you to transcend this. I hope this helps for anyone going through a difficult moment in their lives. Thank you. Thank you for listening.